Hi, my name's Ramirez, and this is FrogBear.zil. Probably should have pulled the mouse my way. This episode will be called Old World versus America. And the reason why I name it that is because it's a known fact that goes everybody's head, and that is America's the newest country. So you have to recognize to some degree that the rest of the world was already not founded or not well established or none of those civilized words. Right? Civilized. There's a reason why I'm laughing about it, because it just reminded me I need to make another video. Either way, talking about our civilized society where people have to make statements like, I don't feel like Epsteining myself. I actually love life. Like, to make a statement like that in a civilized world is so fucking retarded, because it's like, either way, I thought you lived in a civilized world. I thought you don't have to worry about rumble rousers taking your life or some stupid shit like. Either way, it's fucking retarded. But right, old world versus America. And when I speak of the old world, I'm specifically mentioning Asia, Russia, China, the Middle Eastern lands, parts of Eastern Europe here, parts of Eastern Europe, not all of them, because some of them are at the behest of their education systems are tainted just as much as ours are, but there's a reason for that. What else is the old world? I guess you can consider Italy a part of that too. Parts of Spain. But there's a reason why I don't want them considered in this discussion, is because when you look at negotiating tables, when you look at who gets invited to what summits, these are not countries who actually matter. And these other countries will toe the line of the European Union, so they have no autonomy. And in my head, if you have no autonomy over yourself, you are not a part of the old world, because there's reasons for this, right? Either way, back to the old world, and people forget that America is one of the newer countries. What I am really bringing up, or at least what I'm trying to emphasize here, is that the world was largely shaped by other people. The world was largely shaped and dictated over by other people. Right? The people of today, modern era, the last 50 to 100 years, right? Because that was the last reset. Your opinion does not matter. What you think the world is fucking nonsense. Like, people today should abandon the notion that they actually have any meaningful effect to what's going on in the world. It sounds harsh, but it's like, I always get really angry with people, because it's like, oh no, it's right, that whole thing of civilized world. We live in a highbrow society. And the reason why I bring it up, and the reason why I'm imagining that way, is because I've debated a lot of people, and I always remember that kind of veneer of, oh no, we're not a shit country. There's no corruption here. And it's because this one dude that would always come into the chat, and he spoke in a very weird way. Like, he always tried sounding like he was echelon. It was like really weird ass way of speaking. But I was just thinking about, I was going through some of my old recordings, and I was going through some of my old BitChute channel, and just remembering the times that I spent debating on like politics and all these other servers, right? I reminded myself of this fucker, like, and the idea that but he would always debate from this side that civilization or people had a meaningful effect to what largely was dictated over, right? It's like, oh no, people can change it. People have power. People have autonomy, like freedom of will, this and that. And I'm like, right, like, fucking. He was always debating it at the weirdest angle, because it always ended with the responsibility being in the hands of citizens. And because it was delegated to the hands of citizens, that means we did a good job. That means that we have a fair system that nobody can taint and this and that. And he was very, but now thinking about it, I bring it up because the old world versus America. America is such a newly conceived thing that, right? And I'm not talking about 1776. No, fuck no, nigga. Like, I'm talking about just the turn of the century, the 1900s. Like, clearly something happened within the last 120 years that our architecture changed, the kind of people changed, the way they maintain themselves changed. And then when you start really, and I mean really, picking apart at some of the arguments that are being made towards people, like, it was a meme that I found recently where it was like, you want to tell me who's brainwashed? You're telling me that the Cowboys and Indian era built this, right? And it points to a building, and I'm like, oh, now that's a very interesting visual representation of this. Like, right? Who really built this? And I'm only coming at this from the angle of, we weren't necessarily told the entire truth of American history. And I'll leave it at that, because that's not where I'm going with this. Because the world was largely shaped by the rest of the world, not America. America had little to no say in this, right? So that means European influence had more meaningful impact on America than we do now today as citizens who get to vote over the system. I could just imagine the rhetoric being used of, no, but America's better than everywhere else. And I'm like, motherfucker, you have to make public statements about not Epsteining yourself. And you're telling me you lived in a civilized world. Shut the fuck up. Like, think about what you're fucking saying. Like, dead ass. And the reason why I bring this up is because if we lived in a civilized world, and if we lived in a world, right, if we lived in the best representation of civilization, right, because supposedly we do, right, America, fuck you Europeans. Like, you niggas live in a totalitarian state. Like, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Europeans, get the fuck out. You have no seat at this table. Like, dead ass. And the reason why is because, when you think about how many assassination attempts have been had in America versus Europe, I think we take the fucking cake. I really do think we take the fucking cake. And as of now, there are more, I wouldn't even call them ethnic minorities because it's just a bunch of desert people, right? Like, you got a bunch of desert people living in your capitals. Like, you've willingly infected yourself with something that would not jive with your shit. Like, either way, back to America. Back to America in the old world. I'm just going to run this really quick. These are the notes that I wrote on Discord, but I just copied pasted them in the description below. 1. America. How it's run by occultists and gangsters. 2. America is in a very unique position and needs a grip and leadership. The way Asia, the desert lands, Russos, the Chinese, specifically them, because they have autonomy over themselves. They still have the ability to do things that do not run or work with the overall agenda that's trying to be achieved. All right? Think that. Hence why a psyop was needed over the American people. I didn't actually put over the American people. Creating a class of people who understand the underlying issues creates a demand for a role, which can then work against the agenda that is killing the host, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because the rest of the world knows that America's full of fucking retards, right? Like, the rest of the world, to some degree, understands that, haha, they're retarded. But at the same time, Europeans are, like, still completely unaware that they've mutated into this other thing that has a second head, and they're both just as equally stupid, right? Look, when your people, when I say your people, when I say whites, right? When I say the civilized portion of society, the civilized portion of humanity, you dumb fucks, the moment you stop killing yourselves, the moment you stop acting like malignant cancer cells, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Like, your opinion does not matter when you are still, like, here, this is why this is the best way I came up with representing this. White people, or the civilized Western world, whatever the fuck you want to call that, when they, or when you stop acting like a malignant cancer cell, which means there's a cell in your human body, and the human body starts attacking it, and because it infected it, now it's attacking your whole body as a whole. When you stop killing yourself, when your white blood cells stop killing your human body, talk to me. Talk to me. Beyond that, no. The way I see it, white people are killing themselves. You people are acting like confused biological cells that have begun attacking its host. What? Like, right? If we thought this through out in terms of biology, to clearly explain what's going on without any of the bullshit, without any of the descriptions, without any of the details, without any of the ideology, without any of the da 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 da, you're killing yourself. America is killing itself. It's promoting a message that is then confusing its citizens, its cells, to attacking itself, to destroying itself. The moment America, Europe, and by and large the whole civilized world stops doing that, I'll start listening to your opinion again. Beyond that, I've come to realize, fuck everyone else. Like, deadass. People like Hassan, people like Destiny, people like XQC, whatever these dumb fucking idiots are. Because I've been watching some of this content, right? And it's become really apparent to me that they're all using the veneer of civilized society without really wording out what their civilized society entails, right? And this also goes into a Sam Harris clip that recently started popping up, where he literally says, like, I don't care if Hunter had the bodies and the skeletons of little ones in his closet, I still would not want Trump's in the office. And I was like, like, bro, my head cracked open like a grandfather clock, and all the parts just went everywhere. Because, by and large, here's another reason. I then saw a Nick Fuentes clip, and Nick Fuentes is attaching himself to the MGTOW movement. Men go their own way, the dating scene, red pill thing, all this other shit about manosphere, this and that, men's health issues, da 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 da. He's jumping on and latching on to these issues, and I find it the most fucking hilarious thing it is, because, right, I talk about eugenics, I talk about Madison Grant, I talk about the American Eugenics Society. This is what I've been really researching in. I keep the what names I say very loose, because you gotta pick your moment to really strike. You gotta pick a real nice moment to make sure that they just squirt out everywhere. Either way, Nick Fuentes, if you listen to him, by and large, he won't say this now, but I've been watching him it's not like I watch him actively, it's just I kept track of his career like I keep track of everything else in trends. But this man literally believes in everything that came out of so everything that came out of the eugenicist movement of the early 1900s, Nick Fuentes is a walking representation of that. Like, he even goes so far as saying that he wouldn't marry anybody with brown eyes. He would rather marry somebody with green eyes. And I think that's hilarious. And you want to know why that's hilarious? Because the same eugenics crap he speaks, the people who wrote that would want to eradicate everybody with green eyes. So it's kind of like, I see what you're saying, Nick, but you do realize you would get killed by the same people who wrote the literature that you believe in. Hilarious, my boy, hilarious. Irony and fate are just so beautiful together. But that's beyond the point. I keep losing myself in this tangent. But it all comes down to it. It all comes down to the old world, or at least the sane world, which I don't think enough people have undone the Matrix rhetoric in their own head in order for them to step out into what it means to see the sane world for what it is. Because they're still stuck in that idea that America's the best place ever. America has taught you well, that America has equipped you with understanding what's going on in the rest of the world. And it's just like, nah, not really. Medieval peasants have more rights than American citizens do. I always think about that, especially now with just the known fact that they can actually maintain their privacy, right? There were no electronic devices back in those days. Meanwhile, now, today, every single person, most Americans live and or sleep with their cell phone by their side 24/7. Dude, no fucking totalitarian dictator would be like, for word, nigga? They carry around devices that I can, everything they do, all of the letters they write, everything they say, and they carry it around with them? Bro, like, dude, no dictator could lose himself in that much okay. Either way. Why am I saying all this? Either way. Hence why a psyop was needed. Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about the psyop. So, and then this goes back to an Obama clip, right? Where he's all like, confuse them. This is all on my Instagram, right? I always reference videos that I'll upload to my Instagram. And it's a video of Obama just basically saying that, like, we need to confuse the citizens. There's too much information. And what they were really trying to target at this time were conspiracy theorists. Or people who, right, are inclined to that sort of thinking process. And to see where we are at now, and to see the levels of obfuscation that gets put around, and I'm like, bro, you literally have controlled right-wing think tanks looking for ways to diversify the opinion in the public court in order for Trump not to get elected. It's not like now, it's like people are asking me to suspend my disbelief on, like, right, the beast system biting itself. Oh no, Trump is working for the Club of Rome. He sent the FBI on himself, this and that. And I'm like, as much as I could see how that theory works, and as much as you could draw out these conclusions based on who knows who and what did what and this and that, you're still forgetting that there are other aspects to this puzzle. Like, one of my most favorite today was Ghislaine Maxwell. When it was when she was saying, right, this Ghislaine Maxwell was saying this about her stay at prison over a year ago, probably more than over a year ago. Yet she was saying stuff in those whatever dissertations. I don't even know why they would write down this lady's notes. Is a whole question that I'm still trying to solve. But she makes reference to stuff that got taken from the FBI raid. But there's a 2-year discrepancy, or at least like a year and a half of time discrepancy between these events. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. Because I bet you won't. I bet no motherfucker on the alt-right wing, I'm a different thinker, like, you fucking idiots. Swear for, like, because now it's inching closer. And we're so close to it now that it's like, if the veil hasn't broken for people who watch blood sports, or whatever remains of it, people who watch Nick Fuentes, No More News, what other fucking retard, like, if you haven't woken up to the very fact that you are literally FBI honeypots, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I really don't know what to tell you. Like, y'all niggas just lost it. So back to the psyop, right? There were multiple levels of psyops, and the ones that I like to look at the most are specifically people who believe in wingnut aspects of themselves. They'll believe themselves to be far superior, while they'll knob themselves at the foot on purpose and be like, I'm the best. It's just like, but you're chopping your own arm off, my guy. But I'm the best. But I'm the best. So, psyops. The Q one, right? The biggest one. People will still say that Q did nothing good. And I think that's hilarious. If anybody's educated or moved this whole discussion forward, it was that group of people. It was that group of people that constantly pushed forward into learning, understanding, and moving the court of public opinion forward. Not regressive, forward. So I thought a psyop was meant to distract, dysfunction, cause chaos, to slide the discussion somewhere else. But yet, by and large, the topics at hand kept moving forward. The discussion kept moving forward. And then people will still fucking clutch to their pearls and be like, but Operation Warp Speed. You do realize, you dumb fucks, he says that he's vaccinated, but if you look at the open medical records, this nigga took ivermectin. If he was vaccinated, he got vaccinated by taking a fucking pill, you dumb fucking retards. And then there was that other stupid shit he took, Regeneron. It was fantastic. It's like, those aren't vaccines, but you'll still say this nigga accepts the vaccine. It's just levels of disbelief I have to fucking entertain in order for me to understand other people's opinions. Quite wonderful, quite huge, quite irritating. These dumb fucks, something needs to be done. I'm not very good at a Trump impression. Creates a demand. Alright, so the psyop for Q, blah blah blah. These were the only people that understood the issues at hand. These are the only people who wanted to educate themselves on international issues, on national issues, on the topics at hand. Meanwhile, everybody between the age of me, or I want to say between the ages of 35, between the ages of 35 to 23, you dumb fucks, all of you dumb I don't fit in this category because I actually broke out of the psyop before I made any meaningful decisions. That's how I see it. I voted for Trump both times. I did not let any of these psyops affect my decision at the end of the day, because I knew that you have to remember, what's the objective? What's the goal here? And at the end of the day, one group of people have done far more in terms of public opinion, in terms of discussing the ideas and making them meaningful moving forward, instead of just, it's all over, we're doomed, there's nothing to be done, all of these people are gonna ruin voting. And it's just like, even, all right, there caravans, all these illegal immigrants, the displacement of America. It's like, who's allowing this? Because I can tell you right now, it's not a little tiny hat. I can guarantee you right now, the person who signed their fucking signature on that piece of paper was white. Every single time that I've looked for it, white, Scottish, Irish, English, heritage, right? Heritage speaking. Yeah. Oh no, but it's the tiny hats. They're the ones that do it. And it's like, they never get voted in. They never get voted in. None of them ever get voted in. Like, if you look at the time periods that were very specific to when it mattered, and I mean it fucking mattered, when it came down to LBJ classifying conspiracy theory, allowing the overreach of the CIA's power, allowing for the growth of the FBI and their right. So that was the whole thing with the civil rights movement, right? They allowed the FBI, like, so here's what happened, right? All these white people were like, these minorities are a problem, we need to do something, let's give the FBI all this power. Gives all the FBI the power. But then guess what? All of that power was then used against the white people. Like, beautiful. It's like clockwork. You couldn't write any better jokes. So the way I see it is, oh, but Q's gonna give all this power to da-da-da, and I'm like, it didn't happen. If that did happen, it would have happened already, especially with devolution, especially with the handing over of certain rights to FEMA. Like, did you not pay attention to certain executive orders that went through? Is it not obviously clear why the Biden administration doesn't have access to certain facilities that normal presidencies do? And then there's the whole thing with court of public opinion, da 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 da. The only people who wanted to actually meaningfully do anything with the voting systems were who? Were they the alt-right wing nationalists who wanted to save their utopia? No. Fuck no. Those fucking idiots rather just stay black-pilled, kept masturbating, played video games, and did nothing. While all of the boomers who were white-pilled, who educated themselves, who saw something meaningful to do, and do it the right way, like, they by and large needed the help of the demographics between 35 all the way down to 23 years old. But no. They were all right. All this giant demographic is still caught in marketing culture. They're still caught and tuned into, tell me what to say, tell me what to believe, and because they're caught in that cycle, it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. And whole lot of anger for a whole lot of weird fucking rant. Really weird, but It just gets me so mad. It just gets me so angry. Not really like, I'm gonna blow some things up, or I'm gonna do this or that. No, nothing like that. It just makes me feel very unpleasant emotions to think that I have to listen to all of these fucking idiots' opinions, right? Now that I'm older. Keep in mind, I'm older now from when I was doing these debates. I'm far more educated from the time I was doing these debates because I just threw myself head in first. So I by and large, I didn't even know how to word any of my ideas out at that time, let alone understanding vague concepts. But whatever. Like, just listening to certain things, I'm like, wow, just wow, just wow. And especially from the Nick Fuentes fans, because the Nick Fuentes fans, they're the dumbest. They're like, no, we need more federal power. But they don't realize that's what they're saying. In order for them to achieve any of their political goals, it literally involves giving some agency all this fucking federal power. And best part is, beyond giving them that federal power, it would overreach so much into so many different departments that that same mechanism would then be used against them in order to get rid of them, which is why I brought up I don't think I copied this. Bottom of my notes I wrote, resetting radicals, what happens to previous leads in civil wars, Che Guevara candidates. Now I bring this up because I was thinking of what would happen if Hillary Clinton won. And if Hillary Clinton won, there were a lot of theories of like FEMA camps and this and that, right? So it made me think of what happens to all revolutionaries. What happens to the people who lead the revolutionaries? They all get killed, by the way. All of the revolutionaries who lead the counter-revolution to whatever power structure exists, all of them get lined up on the wall, all right? Remember that. So when I think about it, and I'm like, if all of these wingnats, white nationals, actually existed, that, like, not many of them exist, but the very few that do exist, I know most of them. At least I know where they hang out. I'm not going to say that I know them personally. I just like, oh, they hang out on Discord groups, this, that. You can go on politics. You can find your ways into these fucking idiot groups, right? So it's not that hard. But the point is, what was the point? Can't remember now. Yeah, either way, controlled opposition groups, and just having to like entertain their ideas, their beliefs, and like their opinions, to me baffles me, because it's just like, you didn't actually think this through out, and you forgot to include this. You forgot to include the aspects of these intelligence agencies, how this works and how that works. And they're like, well, I don't need to understand how any of that works. It's just like, well, if you don't understand the interoperability of these facilities, you're a dummy. You're a dummy, and I'm not going to listen to your opinion. But yeah, I just found myself thinking this because of, oh yeah, no, Che Guevara, all these radicals, right? Yeah. So all of these radicals, if they were allowed to to get their wet dream of a specific militia to do away with the rest of all the unwanted people in America, which again mimics and mirrors the Chinese, the early eugenics movement, and like the whole reason why China has a one-child policy or had a one-child policy were largely the same people who wrote all the eugenics material in America. So you'd be following in China's footsteps, but the Han Dynasty will rise, I guess. Either way. So if these people got their utopia, and whoever led these movements, whoever were the main leads or the main commanders to this movement, you guys would get put to the wall first because you led the whole movement and because the power structure won't give you what you want, right? Because here's the thing. When it comes down to DNA as a whole, as a research topic or as a meaningful science, it's always been controlled and dictated in one specific way, which is why I research all these eugenic scientists. They're the same people. They're the progenitors of the same people who wrote all of this material. So you would essentially be lining up to becoming gammas of the Brave New World. Oh yeah, and by the way, deltas, gammas. So the I talked about this in it's Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. He talks about subdivision of classes, but the way I see it is the same people who would drive home their utopia would be the same people that would get classified and poisoned and purposefully made stupid in order to maintain your role at certain bottom level structures. And the only real people who would get to stay at the top are the people who are the scientists who have dictated and who oversee all of the operations. But Nick Fuentes is so based and red-pilled. I'm gonna marry either way. I only bring it up because it's like, think these things out. Research the things that you believe in. Look into it. Because if you do, you'd realize that you'd be on the chopping block. A lot of us would be on the chopping block. And it was largely designed and based on these systems. So when the same people who drive home their utopia of a white nationalist society, well, the people who would run you, or at least the people who you would accept, control the science behind DNA. And by and large, would probably have the best bloodlines, right? Because there's only very specific groups of people. There's only very specific groups of people who have maintained their bloodline for hundreds of years. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not the citizens. Because if we want to talk about the purity or how this and that, the moment the Saxons and the Anglos intermingled, it was over, my boy. It was completely over. Like, that's it. There's already been far too many interminglings in order for this to be deemed acceptable. They're like, read, look at history. I don't know. Normally people just won't look at history, and it's like, whatevers. I might make one more video. Actually, I probably will make another video. And, make it like my news stream. I don't know. It depends on how much stuff I have in the Telegram, and I'll actually have to go through the Telegram. But not the point. That'll be it. This was 33 minutes of Ramirez over me ranting, like, aspects of the old world versus America, and just the lack of understanding that comes between knowing that America's way too new in order for people to assume that there's freedom of will exercised in this land at all. And it's stupid to assume that this civilized society is the best version of civilized society. And how the rest of the world looks at us as like a fucking problem. They look at us like a child that needs its handheld because, by and large, the citizens, the land, anything that's happened with the development of this country has largely been dictated by American corporations. And nobody wants to accept that. Nobody wants to accept that American corporations, by and large, have ultimate decision. You don't. Your vote don't matter. Your governors don't matter. Your local politicians don't matter. Facebook is literally the epitome of proving this, because look at how they influenced elections. And this was just, right? This is just a visual effect that we've seen these last two elections, these last two major elections. Either way, I just wanted to bring up the old world, or at least the rest of the world that still has autonomy over themselves, looks at us like a giant fucking problem, because the citizens are largely children who need their hand held, because this country's been run by gangsters and occultists. This country has been run by people who actually understand the systems at hand, who actually understand international dealings, yet there's this false conception that people believe that, oh no, I did that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. The people who you voted in did it. And even then, we don't even know if they actually got voted in naturally. Right? There's this whole discrepancy between the voting machines and da-da-da-da-da. And there's only one group of people who wanted it. Either way, by this point, you've already listened to the thing. I'm the thing. You're a thing. We're all things. Have a good one.